Welcome to the English Matura with JB podcast, the show that unpacks the fascinating and sometimes unsettling corners of human psychology. I'm your host, Adrian.
And I'm Anna. So, Adrian, I wanted to talk about something I came across that has really stuck with me. The uh, the Stanley Milgram obedience experiments. It sounds just really intense.
Intense is the word for it, yeah. It's one of the most famous and frankly infamous studies in all of psychology. And the whole thing was built on this, incredibly elaborate deception. It started in 1961 at Yale University.
Deception. How so?
Well, people were recruited through newspaper ads for what they were told was a scientific study on memory and learning. And this was at Yale, so it had this huge stamp of legitimacy. They were paid $4.50 just for showing up.
Oh, okay. So right away, you feel kinda obligated, I guess, like you owe them something before you even start.
Exactly. So the real subject comes in and they meet another volunteer who's actually an actor. They rig the draw for roles. The real person is always the teacher and the actor is the learner. The learner gets strapped into a chair with electrodes and the teacher is taken to this imposing shock machine.
Wait, so the person in the study, the teacher, they believe they're actually about to shock another person.
100%. And to make it totally convincing, the experimenter, the authority figure in the gray lab coat, gives the teacher a real 45-volt sample shock from the machine.
He actually shocked them. Gosh, just to sell the lie. So what happens then? The test begins?
Yeah. And the actor, the learner, has a whole script. He even casually mentions he has a slight heart condition, to really raise the stakes. For every wrong answer, the teacher is told to deliver a shock, increasing the voltage each time. The actor's protests escalate from grunts to yells to complaining about his heart, and then eventually just agonizing screams, followed by total silence.
A heart condition. So the person administering the shocks, they have to be thinking they could be seriously hurting or even killing this man. And the guy in the lab coat is just telling them to keep going.
Yes, using a sequence of 4 standardized verbal prods. They'd say things like, please continue, then the experiment requires that you continue. And finally, if the person still resisted, you have no other choice, you must go on.
That's chilling. So the biggest question of all, I guess, did people do it? Did they go all the way to the maximum shock?
That's the headline finding, the one everyone knows. In that first main version of the experiment, 65% of participants went all the way to the maximum 450 volts.
65. Wow, that's well over half. It's so hard to believe. Why? I mean, what was the point of finding that out?
Well, Milgram was deeply influenced by what was happening in the world, specifically the trial of the Nazi officer Adolf Eichmann. The defense for so many Nazis was, I was just following orders. And Milgram wanted to see, scientifically, how far an ordinary person would go when commanded by what they saw as a legitimate authority figure. It explored this idea of the banality of evil.
Okay, that context makes sense, but, gosh, what about the people in the study? The teachers? The psychological damage of thinking you might have killed someone? That must have been just immense. What about the ethics of it?
It was an ethical disaster, an immediate firestorm. Other psychologists, like Diana Baumrind, publicly condemned it. The subjects themselves showed signs of extreme distress, sweating, trembling, nervous laughter. And this is maybe the worst part. Milgram didn't tell most of them the truth right away.
Wait, what? He let them leave, thinking that the other person might be.
Yes, this de-hoaxing, as it's called, didn't happen for 75% of the subjects for months, and in some cases, nearly a year. They got a form letter in the mail. They carried that burden for a long, long time.
That's that is just unbelievable. So, I mean, I have to assume this is why we have such strict rules for psychological experiments now. right? This feels like ground zero for that.
You are absolutely right. The controversy surrounding Milgram's work was the primary catalyst in establishing the ethical guidelines we have today. The rules against extreme deception and causing undue psychological stress, they exist largely because of what happened in that lab at Yale. You could never, ever run this experiment today.
Wow, a powerful and a very chilling lesson about human nature and authority. Thanks, Adrian.
Anytime. That's all we have for this episode of the English Matura with JB podcast. Join us next time as we explore another facet of the human mind.